La misión está en el corazón de la Iglesia. Y más aún, cuando una Iglesia está en sínodo, solamente esa dinámica sinodal la lleva adelante la vocación misionera, es decir, la respuesta al mandato de Jesús de anunciar el Evangelio. Quisiera recordar que aquí no se acaba nada, sino que aquí continúa un camino eclesial. Se trata de un camino que recorremos como los discípulos de Maús, escuchando al Señor que siempre sale a nuestro encuentro. Es el Señor de la sorpresa. Por medio de la oración y el discernimiento, el Espíritu Santo nos ayuda a realizar el apostolado del oído, o sea, escuchar con los oídos de Dios para poder hablar con la palabra de Dios. Y así nos acercamos al corazón de Cristo, del que brota nuestra misión y la voz que atrae hacia Él. Una voz que nos descubre el centro de la misión, que es llegar a todos, buscar a todos, acoger a todos y buscar a todos sin excluir a nadie. Oremos por la Iglesia, para que adopte la escucha y el diálogo como estilo de vida a todos los niveles, dejándose guiar por la fuerza del Espíritu Santo hacia las periferias del mundo.
Since 2021, she has been the president of the Focolare movement. We also have His Excellency Andrew Fuania, Archbishop of Bamenda, Cameroon, president of the Episcopal Conference of Cameroon, member of the Ordinary Council of the Secretariat of the Synod. He participated in the 5th Ordinary General Assembly on the theme of youth in 2018. We also have Sister Caroline Georgis. She is a doctor and she has worked in the healthcare center of Baghdad. She belongs to the Congregation of the Daughters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which at its origin has a desire to be of service to the others, especially helping the sick, the dying, and with the intention of helping women also in educating children. As every day, we have with us also Mr. Paolo Ruffini and Sheila Pires, who are respectively President and Secretary of the Information Commission of the Synod. And I would like to give them the floor right away. I will try to be brief because, as you know, we have the pilgrimage, so we're going to have less time than we normally have for this briefing. As you know, the pilgrimage is about to begin, so we're going to end towards 2:30. As far as the pilgrimage is concerned, at 2:45, we will leave the Santa Marta Square to reach the catacombs of Saint Sebastian, known for hosting, according to many scholars, the remains of the apostles Peter and Paul, and that is why it's called as Memoria Apostolorum. So it is a significant pilgrimage, which is an integral part of our synodal journey. And the pilgrimage is also going to continue to the catacombs of San Callisto and Saint Domitilla, and it's going to end at 6:30 with a moment of prayer. And as you know, you are invited. Yesterday, accreditation was opened to journalists for the pilgrimage. Today, as you see from the presence of our guests, also following the prayer for peace of this morning, we are going to speak, but not limited to it, about peace. Peace in the world, peace in the Holy Land, Ukraine, the Lebanon, the other Middle Eastern countries, all the other countries in the world, Africa. And that is why we have these guests here. Some additional piece of information before giving them the floor to tell you where we stand, and in order to try and give you or show you where we stand in this synodal journey. This morning we finished the second module, which started on Monday morning, devoted to the B1 section of the Instrumentum Laboris. The title is A Communion Which Radiates, and the 35 small groups have just finalized their own reports that have been handed over to the General Secretariat. Today we celebrate the feast of the Lady of Aparecida and Our Lady of Pilar, and this morning we also highlighted the Marian character of the Synodal Church. Mary is a dialogue, is a mother, is a charism, is sanctity, holiness, the lived gospel. Tomorrow morning there's going to be the 8th General Congregation after the Mass at the Basilica, presided by Cardinal Mbongo, who we have had here as a guest some days ago. And the third part of the assembly is going to begin. This is going devoted to B2 in the Instrumental Laboris, the worksheet B2, co-responsibility in the mission. There is going to be the presentation of the General Rapporteur, the witnesses, and then this moment is going to be live streamed. And now I'm going to give the floor to Sheila for a quick overview of yesterday's afternoon session before we give the floor to our guests.
Obrigada. Good afternoon, buongiorno, boa tarde mais uma vez. É muito bom estar aqui, mas como de costume, eu vou falar em inglês. So yesterday we had about 334 members present. That was yesterday afternoon, and a total of 36 interventions during the assembly. Now, the speakers, of course, we reflected rather on the instrumental laboris numbers B1 to B5. And one of the topics of discussion that really resonated was interreligious and intercultural dialogue, and other various interventions were also brought to the fore. But speaking of interreligious and intercultural dialogue, there was a sense of, or rather, there was a call for more dialogue, to strengthen the dialogue with indigenous communities. There was also a talk about colonialism and the impact of colonialism on indigenous communities, hence the call for the strengthening of interreligious dialogue, especially with indigenous communities. There was also a mention about the fact that we are all sinners. However, through the ministry of reconciliation, we ask for forgiveness, and we should be welcomed. We should be welcomed, that the church should be a welcoming church that walks together, especially with concerning ongoing formation, concerning, for example, the importance of listening to young people, their concerns, their proposals, their willingness to commit themselves was also emphasized. The truths of the Christian's faith, especially in the Western world, where, as we know, more and more young people have this desire for more catechism, for ongoing formation, and to understand more the teachings of the Catholic Church. We also cited, there was a mention rather of Mother Teresa of Calcutta's example of welcoming people with AIDS, and a call once again for peace, that Catholic leaders should be at the forefront of promoting peace. The other topics that were brought up or raised during yesterday's discussions had to do with different topics, from the marginalized women, those on the peripheries, the inclusion, and how the Catholic Church really needs to be a welcoming home where everybody feels welcomed. And of course, there was a suggestion of the ministry of listening, that it's important that parishes, conferences, emphasize on the ministry of listening, whether it's through workshops or establishing this ministry at parish level, at diocesan level, but it's important to foster this ministry of listening as we continue on this synodal journey. Above all, that dialogue is fundamental for peace, and that Catholic leaders must be at the forefront in this field. Thank you.
Grazie.
Thank you, Sheila. I would like now to give the floor to Margaret. If you can tell us about the experience concerning this morning session and how you are living it. Good evening to everyone. For me, this morning was a very strong moment because since the war has broken out in the Holy See, Israel and Palestine, I felt my heart wrung with a terrible pain. And I was wondering, I was asking myself, what am I doing here at the Synod? And perhaps I could do something better or different to promote peace. So the first thing was for me to also unite myself in the prayer and share the words of the Pope. So I thought it was good that we are all convened here at the Synod, representatives from the whole world and from all continents, and that we could truly devote a moment, albeit short, of deep prayer to God, asking for peace altogether. So it was a very deep moment because I believe that we can do many things to promote peace, but I also believe in the power of prayer. And I was really struck by the fact that today's gospel talked about this precisely. Knock on the door and it will be opened. Ask and you will be answered. So I felt that this faith should grow, and also the faith of my people in believing even more in the power of prayer. And I thought that even being here at the Synod is not in contradiction with the principles of my life and my life living for peace, because these days' experience is teaching me what it means to journey together. It's not easy to listen to the others and understand them, having a dialogue, allow you to be questioned by the others. And over these past few days, I made this deep reflection. If what we are learning here at the Synod for a whole month, if we manage to do this all together amongst us, and if we allow this lifestyle to become not just a methodology, but a lifestyle precisely for the Church, and if we can bring this to many other contexts at the social, political level, in listening to the other with respect beyond our diversities, differences, different opinions, well, I think that this could truly help us also at a higher level in terms of being able to build bridges for peace. Thank you, Margaret, and I would like now to give the floor to Archbishop from Bamenda, Cameroon, His Excellency Fuania.
I think this Synod is a very big consolation to Africa, because with the problems we have in Africa, sometimes we feel isolated and abandoned. But coming to the Synod, we join with the rest of the Universal Church to sit down and pray together for the problems that are going on in Africa, and especially for the countries that are affected by war. This for us is a very, very big consolation. Secondly, the Synod gives a chance for the voice of Africa to be heard. Africa has its own specificities and their own peculiarities. And when we come together in the Universal Church in a synodal journey like this one, it is an opportunity for Africa's voice to be heard, and to be heard where it is supposed to be heard. And we are not worried about social media or about what others are saying, but we are with our brothers and sisters. You feel the unity that binds the church together. And there we are able to express ourselves freely and happily. And I think that this is a very wonderful opportunity for Africa to make its own mark within the Synod. And for this, I am very, very grateful. The last point is that we have learned from what is happening in the other continents, the wars that are just going on in Ukraine, Palestine and Israel, and other places, that we all have to be pro-peace. War can never be the solution. We all have to be pro-peace and join together as one church, God's children united, praying for peace. Peace is possible. Thank you very much.
Sì, Eccellenza, è possibile.
Yes, Your Excellency, it is possible. And in connection with your previous intervention, I read an interview in which you say that synodality is already part of the culture of your country.
That the synodality forms part of the African culture because we always do things together as a family. And when we do things as a family, we consult everybody within the family. And in the local churches which we have, we believe strongly in the basic Christian communities. Because in those basic Christian communities, everybody is able to express themselves. And from those basic Christian communities to the mission stations, from the mission stations before you get to the parish level. Because when you come to the parish level, many people risk to be lost in between. But when you start from the basic Christian communities, and those basic Christian communities are made up of families, so everybody knows everybody at that level. Before you go to the second level, which is the mission station. And from the second station, which is the second level, you go to the third level, which is the parish, before you ever reach the level of the diocese. So it is structured in a way that our culture helps us to be synodal. And I think that synodality is very welcome in Africa.
Thank you very much. Sor Carolina.
Sister Caroline, this morning, you, within the context of the prayer, you read the Gospel in Arabic for the whole assembly. Yes, can you tell us something about this experience? Good evening to everyone. First of all, before I speak about my own experience, I wanted to say that when I went back to my table, there was also Mr. Ruffini with us. They told us we understood the Gospel even though you were reading it in Arabic. It's a striking thing for me. How could they understand? But they celebrated the Mass in the morning. Perhaps they read the same part. Well, they did not all participate in the morning Mass, but they still understood the Gospel read out in another language. This is a symbol because, based on my experience, I can say, I would like to start from the sentence that was pronounced by His Excellency. Everybody knows everybody. And this is a very important thing to say, because as we know the others without meeting them before, I believe that God was present with us in all our activities. And He was also present even before we arrived here. And He has prepared each and every one of us. We are, I don't know, about 400 people, more or less, including all those who worked to make this synod possible. But all of us, each and every one of us, we have our role, and God has prepared us for this beforehand. So today, with this assembly that we feel as a family, in which we all feel brothers and sisters, the other day we heard about the war in the Holy Land. We are all uniting our prayers for peace, because we are a family. The experiences that we will take home from this assembly is not just a document, an official report, but it's rather a strong Christian experience, similar to that of the early Christians, who were sharing everything, their sufferings, the suffering that we hear, the wealth, the richness that comes from the words of the others. So I can say that this is my experience. I have come from a country at war where there is a Christian minority. We have suffered all our life. Unfortunately, this is a steady element in our lives. But I still have hope that our church, even though we are a minority in my country, but still our church is rich, because we have so many martyrs. And these martyrs, their blood give us strength to go on. And today I'm bringing this strength here, and I will go home with an even greater strength because there is a universal church behind me that supports me. And I will bring this all back to my own community, to my Christian people. And also I will bring this back to the other people. I will bring this experience to share it also with the other religions. I come from Baghdad, and I will share it with them. Thank you, sister. So let us begin with questions. I think he raised his hand before the others here.
Giorgio Bernardelli, Asia News.
Giorgio Bernardelli, Asia News. A question for Margaret Karam. Do you know about interreligious initiatives from the Holy Land, or prayer, or some other mobilizations? We heard the appeal of Patriarch Pizzaballa, if there have been gestures or significant initiatives that have been taken. Yes. Also at the level of Patriarchate and in all the churches of the Holy Land, they have decided to come together in prayer. Already last Sunday this happened. And then not just at the local level, but I know that many in Italy have gotten together with many Christian communities to pray the Rosary via Zoom or other prayers, precisely to feel united in prayer. And yesterday also Ukraine was included. People from the Focolare movement that I know, they have united themselves, united with other people in the Holy Land and people in Italy to pray together. Something else that we launched yesterday also at the level of the Focolare movement was an initiative starting from children and young persons with a project called Living Peace that works with many hundreds of organizations and schools. And so there are many schools in the Holy Land which participate in this project, Educating to Peace. And they have launched this appeal for prayer, which included several aspects. First of all, getting together, uniting young people and children at 12 a.m. Italian midday to unite in prayer all together, all these young people, children. Another thing is everybody committed to carrying out concrete acts of solidarity with another person from another religion, either Jewish or Islam. And the third thing was to write to the leaders, to sending them a request for peace, an appeal for peace. They may seem just drops in the ocean, particularly at this time of terrible suffering, but at least these are concrete actions that were carried out and launched to show solidarity with the many people in the world who are suffering. I personally received hundreds of letters from all over the world which said that in every community they are praying for peace. And I must also share another witness that I received just before I entered this hall from Jewish friends whom I know in Israel who are concerned about those who live in Gaza. And this for me is a very beautiful thing, because all journalists can only speak about the negative things that are happening between these two peoples, but there are many, many people, many organizations, and I have been a member of them when I was in Jerusalem. So organizations that work in order to build bridges, but nobody speaks about this. We only hear about hatred and division and terrorism, and we give an image of people which is not the actual image of these people. So we mustn't forget that there are so many people who are working in order to build bridges, and we hope that they will build bridges of peace and that we can see some results soon. And then this Jewish friend was telling me every day she decided, I will pray at the same time as my Muslim friends, even though there are many things that divide us at this very moment with a terrible pain in our hearts, but still I pray because I know that at this time I am united with them in prayer. So these are just a few concrete examples. Thank you, Margaret. We are now going to give the floor to the person at the back.
Jack Viggy from Catholic Vote. Ms. Pierre, did I say that? I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. You mentioned that the Synod has discussed the ongoing formation of young people specifically. My question for the three panelists are, what is the Synod doing to address evangelization and be able to help every single person grow in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and better understand the true presence of the Eucharist?
As I mentioned, we spoke about ongoing formation. When we look at ongoing formation, for example, in the Catholic Church, you find, this is basically from where I come from, you find that after confirmation, many people just walk away. They don't really participate further in the life of the church. So it's important to have ongoing formation that teaches more. For example, in Southern Africa, we're looking at the social actions of the Catholic Church, the social works of the Catholic Church. So it's important to incorporate that into catechism from an early age so that people grow learning more and more about the Catholic Church, not only necessarily the sacraments. So that's one aspect of ongoing formation. Also encouraging young people to be more actively involved in the different activities within the Church. That's the one aspect, but mainly from the Southern African perspective. Thank you.
If you look at part of this ongoing formation, focus is being put on the movements within the church. Margaret Carra will explain that better, because the Focolare movement has a program from the youth, beginning from very young ages, and right up to young adults. And again, the Sant'Egidio and the Charismatic Renewal Movement, they all have programs which are made for young people. And now we are trying to go back within our parish communities, that the young people must not only get formation when they belong to the movements. Even when they don't belong to the movements, we have these programs within the parishes where the young people, through YC young Christian workers or young student workers, have formation programs which guides them, especially in their choices that they make in life. This is a very important aspect.
And, well, formation is a topic that has come up in all our discussions during these days. So formation at all levels, not just for young persons, but also formation, for instance, for seminarians and priests. And I would even say ongoing formation for the entire church, for the laity, lay persons, and for the clergy. And so this theme emerged very strongly also from the bishops, this important aspect of formation, and particularly the role that young persons can play in terms of what they can give to the church today. I think that also after the experience of the World Youth Day, those of us who were there, we can really bear testimony to the strength of people and this quest for formation that they have, this thirst for formation and the encounter with Jesus. This is something which has been emerging from our exchanges and mutual gifts. It is precisely the centrality of Jesus. Unless our faith is centered on Jesus and the gospel, a theological formation is not sufficient, because there has to be also a concrete formation that bears witness to life.
Just to add something to the last part of his question, I will have to limit it within my experience. This year in my diocese is the year of the Eucharist. And because we declared the year of the Eucharist, every parish is building a chapel of perpetual adoration. And so perpetual adoration is going on in all the parishes. It is incredible, I cannot explain it here, how much time the young people spend before the Blessed Sacrament. This is only a short experience, which is personal. This is only in my diocese. Now, if you think of the other dioceses around the world that have these chapels of perpetual adoration, where the young people go to adore Jesus, it's an incredible experience.
No,
Sì, brevemente volevo chiedere a
I wanted to ask to Margaret Karam,
diciamo in queste ore, diciamo,
over these
si sente il
hours
rumore
where
dei missili,
we
colpisce
just
un silenzio
hear
da
the
una parte,
noise of
quindi io come
missiles.
popolo
We
palestinese
are struck
della comunità, leader della comunità
by silence,
palestinese rispetto a tutte le istanze
and I'm also asking you what you think about the leadership in terms of distancing themselves from the terrorists of Hamas. I would like to know if you would like to make a request to your people and the leaders of the Palestinian community to distance themselves formally from terrorists. And then another very big silence is that of the leaders of religious communities, because I think that the appeal made by Cardinal Pizzaballa at the moment was not taken up. So as the president of the Focolare movement, would you like to make an appeal so that the leaders accept the Cardinal's request and express themselves? Because it's good to hear about your witnesses, but they are witnesses that concerns individuals. And then there is one question for Sister Caroline on the situation of Christians in Iraq. We know that the Cardinal Sacco has had to leave Baghdad, and can you share with us what you shared in the Synod, also in light of the facts that concern the Patriarch? What is the situation of Christians in your country? This is not an easy question. I think that my appeal as an individual would not be very fruitful. I think we need international help from the entire world that may actually give voice and help in the negotiations to start them again between the two parties. I truly hope that and in all countries, Arab countries and all the others, I hope that leaders feel this problem and this conflict that has to be faced urgently, but not because people have to look after their own interests, but for the good of people and to promote the cause of peace. I think there is still a lot of silence on this, and I think we need to put together all our forces, all our strength from all our countries, but also understanding that there has to be respect for human rights of all people, and to resume looking for reconciliation amongst everyone. Yes, you are right, because as I said, we always are affected by some problems. Between 2003 and the present day, we have been suffering all the time. After 2018, the liberation of Mosul, we were a bit more hopeful. Also, there was a visit of the Holy Father, and that was also an open door for everybody. And he met us, he met the leader of the Shiites, and there was a prayer in the house of Abraham. And today we come from another period of suffering, or a sensitive period. We have been attacked, and so has our cardinal, and that is why he had to leave Baghdad, because if we live in a land that saw the shedding of the blood of Christian martyrs, then we must live in this place with dignity. And that is why
che hanno preso l'autorità, diciamo, di lui, diciamo, civile, ma
well, the civil
deve fare questo passo per
so steps must be made so
conoscono bene
that
che lui
the government recognizes that he has rights for the Christian majority made up of Chaldeans. Today, Christians in Iraq, well, in the Kurdistan area, there seems to be no problems. Also in Baghdad, there isn't that violence as it happened before. Monsignor Basilio, the auxiliary bishop, is in Baghdad. So the life of the Christians in Baghdad today is good. I mean, they live well, but still we need to be able to have the dignity of our leaders ensured, because it's our dignity too. We must be with him. So we are working. We have not completed our journey yet. And we are citizens in this land. We aren't just a minority or a second-rate citizen. We are citizens who are originally from this land and have right to dignity. So this meeting is very interesting, but unfortunately we need to close it today because we have this appointment at 2:45 at the catacombs. No, well, the journalists will go there directly, so they will have to be there at 3:15 at the catacombs. So I thank you all, our technicians, our interpreters, and all of you for being here with us today. Thank you. All the best. Thank you to our guests. Tomorrow there's going to be live streaming for the morning session.
And you've just been listening to our live feed of the usually daily press briefing from the Holy See Press Office about the ongoing General Assembly of the Synod of Bishops. Thank you once again for listening to Vatican Radio, Vatican News. Laudetur Jesus Christus.
La misión está en el corazón de la Iglesia. Y más aún, cuando una Iglesia está en sínodo, solamente esa dinámica sinodal la lleva adelante la vocación misionera, es decir, la respuesta al mandato de Jesús de anunciar el Evangelio. Quisiera recordar que aquí no se acaba nada, sino que aquí continúa un camino eclesial. Se trata de un camino que recorremos como los discípulos de Maús, escuchando al Señor que siempre sale a nuestro encuentro. Es el Señor de la sorpresa. Por medio de la oración y el discernimiento, el Espíritu Santo nos ayuda a realizar el apostolado del oído, o sea, escuchar con los oídos de Dios para poder hablar con la palabra de Dios. Y así nos acercamos al corazón de Cristo, del que brota nuestra misión y la voz que atrae hacia Él. Una voz que nos descubre el centro de la misión, que es llegar a todos, buscar a todos, acoger a todos y buscar a todos sin excluir a nadie. Oremos por la Iglesia, para que adopte la escucha y el diálogo como estilo de vida a todos los niveles, dejándose guiar por la fuerza del Espíritu Santo hacia las periferias del mundo.